Good evening, everybody. Welcome to All the Right Movies, Corn Nation Sports Movie Podcast. Andy Ketterson is here. That is me. Welcome, everybody, this evening. Good to see you. We've got some basketball tonight, finally. White Men Can't Jump. And the first movie probably made, I can't think of another. If you can, let me know. But the first movie made about just straight up playground basketball. I know they did like a Connie Hawkins made for, I don't know, an old made for HBO movie, but that was just more his biography, and playground basketball and gambling and trash talk was more of the side note part of the story as opposed to what the whole movie is based on. And speaking of letting me know things in the comments, I found one thing, and I apologize to any of you that might have been affected. I'd seen like a drop-off in comments as we had a slight uptick in viewership this year, and I was wondering why that was. Well, I dug around on YouTube, and apparently it put in a default setting, which I didn't even know was there before, where it screens the comments and tries to throw out anything it thinks is spam, or I think it wants to lean into people that make more comments but never really gave it that many people a chance to make comments. I don't want them screened at all. Last year they weren't screened at all. I'm not getting 30,000 comments a show. I can screen them fine on my own. So if you got comments tonight, I'd especially ask you, if even if you don't want to say anything, if you just give us a go big red, something like that. And I'm hoping that was the problem. So apologies for that. I'll probably mention that a time or two during the show as we get some more people in. But what we got tonight, White Men Can't Jump. Couple announcements first. I don't know if any of you have heard of Jardiance or Jardiance. It's some sort of glucose inhibitor for type 2 diabetes, pharmaceutical product. And, you always have to state the possible side effects. With this one, I really thought, go back to the lab first. I get that it's probably a minute chance, but you have to mention it. But this drug just ended up sounding like an assault on genitalia. It was just, and this, if you experience burning in your penis or your anus, and it was just, one thing can happen to the anus, another thing to the penis or the vagina, and by the time it's over, it's like could cause loss of limbs, of lowered limbs, and stuff like that. I'm like, I have type 2 diabetes. I manage it just through the diet, exercise, etc. So it's not like I was considering it in the first place. But it just sounds terrifying. So if I seem a little jumpy early on, it's just because I heard a minute commercial, 30 seconds of which was something that I think that just sounds like what happened to people in an NC-17 horror movie. So, yeah, just to get everybody on the right thing. Let's see, what else? Next week, I'll say it again at the end of the show. I keep forgetting to tell people what we're doing next week. I did it this week. It's been kind of a wild summer, and I am just working on getting everything more in order. So hopefully I'll improve here as time goes on. But next week we're going to do Moneyball with Brad Pitt, baseball movie. I love it because I still have no idea how they turned a book about nerdy baseball stats and a new way of doing of scouting players through the numbers, and just turned it into a really funny, entertaining movie. It's like, I showed my parents this, Dad before he died, and I think my mom watched it, and I could tell my mom's face. It was a no. It was I'm not interested. It just sounds boring. And then she's laughing, and I have a feeling, Brad Pitt being there probably that was a little encouragement on its own for Mom. But yeah, it's entertaining as hell. So we're going to do Moneyball next week. So if you want to watch that, there's the homework assignment. Anyway, White Men Can't Jump. This movie is 35 years old. Like it turned 35 this year. It was released. The first date it was released was March 29th, 1992. that just seems wild to me. It seems like it came out more than 4 years after Bull Durham, but Ron, we'll talk about Ron Shelton. We got a lot of Mount Rushmores tonight, actually. I squeezed a few in just because of who all's in this movie. But yeah, that's crazy. That movie doesn't feel 30-something years ago. I remember seeing it in the theater, in the Cinema Center. Okay, the Cinema Center's closed. That should have been a tip-off. Another reason I want to do Moneyball is also maybe do a money from the 2000s, because I've been hitting you guys with the 70s, 80s, and 90s this year. Not that these movies aren't great and don't stand the test of time and are easily rewatchable, but I figured, hey, let's do something when at least there were iPhones or whatever. So yeah, Moneyball next week. So White Men Can't Jump comes out in 1992. It really was. Where's my pen? Hold on just a second. There we go. I kind of want to check stuff off, because right away in the trivia, I'll tell you, this is what put Wesley Snipes and Woody Harrelson on the map as stars, as guys who can star and carry a movie on their own. And yeah, it's what did it. I mean, Woody was still doing Cheers when this comes out. And what was Wesley? I think they'd been in Wildcats together. We'll talk more about them as a pairing. But Wesley, I think he'd been in a couple movies, and he was getting noticed. But this is what set him off. I mean, for a while there, he wears I think Bill Simmons has this thing where he assigns the championship belt to the action movie star of the moment. Like Liam Neeson held it through the Takens. But I think they went back and they showed on Simmons' show that Wesley Snipes held the top action movie star belt, in the world for a while. This is what kicks him off as a starring actor, as a guy who as a leading man. There's the words I'm looking for. As a leading man, him and Woody both. Wesley goes on to be an action movie star. Woody goes on to get nominated for 2 or 3 Oscars. It's still weird he hasn't won one yet. I feel like he should have, but we won't complain. This is a celebration of White Men Can't Jump, damn it. And so anyway, let's see, what do we got here? It did very, very well. We got some more sports movies. Okay, it was 85th in box office cash. It was 50th or whatever. And there's more amazing movies than you think, starting in like the 80s, especially in the 90s, where you probably know all the movies up through about number 60 or 70. There's no surprises there, but it actually finishes 14th. It makes $76 million domestically. It makes about 90,740 million worldwide. Finishes 14th worldwide for the year, and does it on a budget of $31 million. So pretty successful when you about triple your money. Triple your money, and that tripling is in the tens of millions. So good job. Now, what were the top 5, just to give you an idea of the area we're looking at there? Aladdin is the number 1 movie in the country. So you've got I think Beauty and the Beast might have been number 1 back when it came out in 88 or 89 or whatever that was, and got nominated for Best Picture. But the animateds are going strong. Aladdin is the highest draw. It makes about $346 million and a half dollars, 346 492, and it's the sequels are coming strong. Star Wars and Rocky, kick off the era of the sequels, starting at about 79 and 80, and after that, everybody's like, a sequel, you say? Here's Smokey and the Bandit 2, and maybe I think Smokey and the Bandit 2 is right in that area too. So I'll give Burt Reynolds some credit there, because Smokey and the Bandit was a smash hit. So number 2, you've got Batman Returns. Number 3 is Home Alone 2. Number 4 is Lethal Weapon 3. And then number 5 is a movie adapted from a stage play, A Few Good Men, with Tom Cruise and Jack Nicholson, and oh my God, everybody. Kiefer, Noah Wiley sticks his head in there as future ER star. But anyway, there's your top 5. So pretty solid year, and 346 million in 1992 was no joke. So anyway, we've got Ron Shelton, who directs this, and Ron Shelton, I think, is now the champ. He is making his 3rd appearance here on All the Right Movies. I'm sure he's thrilled. Peace, Ron. And I've got for his, he's definitely a sports movie director, and it's tough to get to 4 sometimes in just a genre. Usually you're just going, hey, what's the career, Mount Rushmore for this guy? If we have to pick his 4 best movies, roles, directing jobs. Well, as a director, his Mount Rushmore I've got is, here we go, White Men Can't Jump, Tin Cup, Bull Durham, and then he also wrote Best of Times with, who was that? Kurt Russell and Robin Williams, I believe. So, and that was a solid, enjoyable sports movie. So, but then we've also got Woody Harrelson and Wesley Snipes, who've just got, they've got sports movies, but that's not their sole career focus. It's all their sports movies are a little older, and I filled a little. I'll start with Woody. White Men Can't Jump, semi-pro with Will Ferrell. Underrated, hilarious movie. It'll be on this show at some point. And then Kingpin, bowling movie. Roger Ebert considers it one of the 5 greatest comedies of all time. I couldn't agree more with him. When AFI back in the early mid '90s decided for some weird reason, now's the time we want to go the best movies of all time, the best movies of all time ranked. That had everybody vote on it, the best drama, the best comedy. He wrote a piece because they didn't have it in their top 100. They didn't have Kingpin, and of course, a lot of critics are going to leave Kingpin out because it's disgusting. It's hilarious, but it's disgusting. And for once, and I think because there was a good story behind it, Roger tended to have a problem with comedies. My favorite reviewer, and like a lot of my favorite people, and in this world, I wish more people were like that, but realize your favorite guy's not flawless. His reviews of comedies were not always spot on, because if it didn't have some sort of story in there, it was absurd, and he wasn't just rolling with the absurd because it was a comedy. You had movies that should have been 3.5 or 4 stars down there at 2.5. He'd kind of grump through the review. Even 1 star. He gave Porky's 1 star, I think. And say what you will about Porky's. I mean, 80s as hell. You could never make Porky's today because, you shouldn't be cheering on guys, peeking at naked girls in the shower and that sort of thing. It's not cool. But Porky's was a very funny movie. At worst, it was a 2.5. And maybe you give credit just for the fact that, it's silly, it's stupid, but, folks, it's funny. And there's a scene in there, and I think it came up earlier this year, where you have the gym teacher who, they were staring at the girls in the shower. He decides to put his dick through the hole that, of course, all showers have empty rooms behind them with a hole to put that through, whatever. And she grabs it. She knows it's him, and she's hanging on to it and won't let him go forever, and then goes to complain to the principal and starts explaining how she knows exactly what it looks like and wants to check the phalluses of all the boys in the high school. And then one of the coaches are just cracking up through this, and it's one of these crack ups that just gets you going. And then the guy suggests that we have a penis lineup. We could get a sketch artist in. We could put signs around, have you seen this penis? And by that time, these guys are just did such a great job of just crying through it. But anyway, Roger Ebert. Well, Roger Ebert reviewed White Men Can't Jump. 3.5 stars. Way to go, Raj. I don't know if it's 3.5 stars. That's a solid 3, but good for him. And here's a movie that really doesn't have a beginning and an end. It begins with Woody coming, I think, was it to Venice Beach. He wants to hustle some guys on the courts. And then, when it ends, he's still just hustling. He's lost his girlfriend. I think he got money. He's got money again finally, but he's lost his girlfriend because she knows that he's always just going to lose the money. We'll talk about his flaws, and so I guess it's a nice story through there. But it is kind of the one that it doesn't feel like a beginning and an end. It just feels like a chunk of life where nothing's really changed for the guy. But maybe that in itself is a story. But happy for Raj. Gave it 3.5. Rotten Tomatoes, critics liked it. 75% liked it. oddly, the audience only came in at 69%. I would have thought that would have been higher unless you got some people dragged to the movie that didn't really enjoy sports, and I guess that can happen. But anyway, so Woody, let's see, we gave Woody's there. Now, Woody's Wildcats, White Men Can't Jump, Semi-Pro, Kingpin. But I almost threw the Hunger Games in there over Wildcats. Hey, it's a game. It's a deadly game, but it's a game, and it was, God knows it, it rolled in the Bucks and was really popular. But since Wildcats has football, we leave Wildcats. With Wesley, we had Major League. I have Major League, White Men Can't Jump, drops off there. After that, I go to Undisputed, and then Wildcats. The Fan was in there too, but yeah, the Fan was really bad, so I couldn't see bumping Wildcats for the Fan. Also, we got Wildcats fans. I'm not kidding there. Now, a funny thing. Now, TSD's here with us, Tiger Shark Diver with the Go Big Red, and he throws in Rosie Perez. I had some Rosie Perez thoughts and comments on that too, on her. She was very funny. I think she's pretty sexy in it, and that voice is just like fingernails on a chalkboard to me. And I felt it was so squealy and whiny that in her scenes, I find myself distracted from the movie, like going. And I've seen her in other movies where she doesn't talk like that, so I don't know if she changed her voice for the other movie. I confess I've really never, I can't recall a sit-down interview. If I have, I'm guessing that's a voice she made for the movie and they wanted it to be kind of squealy and annoying. For me, I didn't like it. Thanks to her, the Guy Show, I believe she showed her boobs in the movie, laugh out loud. This reminds me of the first show we did, Necessary Roughness, where Kathy Ireland's name came, who didn't show her boobs, but still guys remembered and loved her. She, just the voice, but yeah, showed the boobs, perfect. Did she really go topless? I thought maybe one snuck out or something like that. Damn it, now you got me distracted. I'm such a guy sometimes. But yeah, if you've got thoughts on her, throw them in there. I'd like to hear what others think, because part of me felt bad for finding her annoying. It's like, are you being misogynistic? It's like, nah, I pretty much would say I'd hate a guy that talked like that too, maybe more. But yeah, Rosie Perez, and both she and Woody, like I'd mentioned, Woody went on to get Oscar nominated. I think Rosie, I know she got nominated. I can't remember if she won, but I believe she's gotten Oscar nomination. She got Oscar nominations down the road, and you can definitely say this movie kicked off her career. Hold on one second. Speaking of can't keep his act together, I gotta go turn the oven off real quick. Give me 2 seconds. Oh boy. All right, oven off. I am back. Sorry about that. Yeah, Tiger says her voice was extremely over the top. Look, you can make it a little bit, but when it's distracting to the point where you're going, what the hell's she doing? It's like, because she was this, she's this close to being the perfect girlfriend. She puts up with a lot from Woody, and she played that well, and she was sticking behind him. And then you understand that it's making her sad that when she finally has to admit to himself, there's no fixing this guy. He's got. So let's talk about those. Let's talk about this right now. I made just a little list. I got a lot of lists out of this movie, and I'll call this one Billy's weaknesses. Jealousy, because remember Wesley playing Sidney Deane. Sidney says something about, hey, girlfriend's hot, something along those lines, and Wesley or Billy just loses his shit, and he is like, hey, quit talking about it. Don't even look at her. And Wesley's like, oh, okay, I think I see one of your weaknesses, and because I haven't even walked up on her, and you're losing your mind. And so yeah, his jealousy. He can't back down. I mean, that's the thing. Is like he will take those winnings, get a challenge, and just can't can't back down, walk away, and take a profit, and it will go through those, yeah. And then what was it? He has collector like mob collectors after him that he stiffed, and because they didn't go to LA because, hey, this is a great place to maybe hustle some hoops. It's like, we need to get on the other side of the country from these guys. So yeah, you got a jealous guy who won't back down and has the mob after him. It's the very definition of a red flag guy. So yeah, she puts up with a lot. Anyway, so that's Rosie. And speaking of the plot, it's time. Do we give this a ludicrous? Is it the plot ludicrous? It's a great plot. Comes in now, and they both know how to get up into each other's heads. But let's just kind of mesh this in with the first scene. As you right out of the gate, you're walking on. Billy's at the court waiting, and he's just great at dressing goofy. He has like the oversized shorts. The hat's what makes it. The little rainbow dye hat that was kind of a rage among dorks back then. Yeah, so he knows exactly what he's doing. Hey, so sooner or later somebody's going to need a guy, and he can go win a money playing the lousy white chump. And they have the I think they make it. They say, hey, take the chump, and then he beats him. The first scene, you got trash talking left and right. He's making bounce passes, to guys for layups, and Sidney's hating that he's getting beaten by boring basketball. And let's see, yeah, and then some of the fun stuff. One of the ones I remember was the Brady punchline. It's like, yeah, it's like Cindy Brady, the youngest one in curls, and Billy just starts laughing his ass off, and Sidney's like, what the hell are you laughing at? And he says, him calling me Brady Bunch and shit. And then Wesley just turns around and goes, motherfucker's too dumb to know he's being insulted. Which is a great line. And so then he's mad because they lost, so he challenges Billy to a shooting contest. And that one goes to work. He's like doing the thing, hey, just for the win, because outdoors and all that. And he's doing it's hard, tagline, it's hard goddamn work looking this good, all that. But then Billy gets him at the end because he's sitting there going, now, if I miss this shot and you make yours, because they're tied 4-4 and best of 5, then he goes, then I'm just a white chump who lost to you, and who cares? Swoosh, he goes, but now if you brick one, you will have lost to a lousy, geeky white chump, and then he starts talking about, hey, I think that wind shifted a little. And then he really goes for the throat. He leans in. You don't think I've hustled better than you, Sidney? And he's like, oh, and what? Just gets in his ear and just going for the throat. And Wesley Snipes plays that scene fantastically. You watch his face. He leaves the smile kind of on, but you see he does a great job of showing the doubt creeping into his eyes now. It's actually really well acted scene by Snipes there. So then, boing, he cangs it, tries to steal the money back. They're like, no, they give it to Woody, and Woody gives him that. Now, there's a man with integrity. And then the famous line, Kadeem Hardison, I forget the name of his show, but this is where I need Miley with me to look things up as we go. But anyway, Kadeem Hardison's like, you said we were going to Sizzler, because they were doing the whole, we going to Sizzler, we going to Sizzler. And then he's like, oh, you said we was going to Sizzler. And he's like, oh, shut your malnutrition. Just this like 8-9 word insult, trash insult back at him. It's fantastic. I'll tell you right now, we've got several more scenes that we'll go through a lot more quickly, because this is probably the first 15, 20 minutes of the movie or so. This is one long scene, and I think it's the best scene of the movie. And so in the second scene, what we've got is, let me get the screen cleared here. What we've got in the next scene is what I call the best cameo in the movie. It's they go down. They decide to. Sidney follows him home. Thinks they should go scam guys together with the White Chump Act. not the dumbest idea in the world, is it? And so they go, and this is my favorite character. Not, it's not one of the main characters at this game, and I think it's in Compton or something, and it's Raymond. And Raymond is played by Marques Johnson. Let's see, I wrote down some of his stuff. He was a star on the 74-75, like the star on that team probably. The 74-75 UCLA team that won the national title. And that was their last national title for a while. I think NC State took the next, or no, that might have been the year NC State was on probation, went 27-0 and couldn't play in the tournament. And then the next season they won the title, and I think might have been, I don't know if they got to it was the 90s before UCLA won again. But Marques Johnson, very good player. I mean, he was a star in the NBA, Milwaukee Bucks, two other teams, had a nice long NBA career. And he also makes a second appearance in all the right movies because he was Nick Nolte, one of Nick Nolte's assistant coaches in Blue Chips, where totally different character. That one he's a dapper guy with glasses. And in this one, they go to play. They do the thing. Sidney's beating Marques Johnson and his teammate, and it's kind of wild because here's Wesley, who's about 5'7", looking up at 6'6" or 6'7" Marques Johnson in these scenes, and he's beating them, and then they're pissed. So he goes, here's the thing, I can beat you with anybody. You can put the worst player here on the court, and there's Billy dressed in his dork outfit again. And so he knows they're going to pick him in $500. So they're about to play for $500, and Marques doesn't have it. So the first thing he does is like, yeah, I'll be right back. And you see him go to his car, pulls out a ski mask and like this beat up revolver, and goes in there because there's like a pawn shop right next to the court they're playing on. And he walks in and he tries doing this high voice and like, give me all your money. And the old guy behind the counter says, who the hell is this? And he goes, Raymond, is that you? No, this ain't Raymond. Now give me your money. And he's like, give me that damn gun. And what's the matter with you, son? So instead of holding the place up, he ends up getting enough money, sells it to the guy, gets enough money to go out there and play. And then of course, Woody and I guess I should say Billy and Sidney beat him. And what I've got here is afterwards, we've got, let's get the sound up here. What is that sound? Okay. Well, so here we go. Wesley's about to hit Wesley hits the winner, and and let's just say that Marques Johnson, Raymond smells a rat, and he's just lost a shit ton of money he can't afford to lose. And here's how that plays out. Yeah, Marques is swinging a shaving blade at him. Now, I see you hustle, man. Hey, I ain't never used no goofy white motherfucker like that. Hey, who you calling goofy white motherfucker? You goofy white. It's cool. This is ridiculous, man. Look, Raymond, we are brothers, man. I swear to God, man, I have never seen this white boy before in my life. Sidney, you out of your mind negotiating with the guy with the blade? You got a wife and kid, man. How do you know my name? And how come he's talking about your family? What? Wait a minute. Hey, let's fuck up. You talking about my wife and kid, and you don't know me? Wait a minute, cut this motherfucker. Raymond's very confused right now. Nah, fuck this. Both you motherfuckers are crazy. I bought him a car. Get below the gun. Shoot everybody's ass. Raymond! Everybody's scared. That, and I thought that was the best line of the movie. That's the one that I was still laughing about after the movie ended. Nah, both you guys crazy. Gonna go to my car, get my other gun, shoot everybody's ass. I was just had tears on that one. That, to me, that was my favorite line of the movie. I don't usually, I have the awards I give out. This is a special award for best cameo. Marques Johnson is just off the charts. Just swinging that razor blade, that barber's razor blade at everybody, and then just gonna get my other gun, shoot everybody's ass. Hey, good way to solve it. Let's see. This was actually where the next scene is they go to play another game, and this is where you realize Sidney's flipped on Billy. He's just making bad decisions, bad shots, and keeping it close. And you feel really bad because I got to be honest. It's like, I think, hey, in the world of hustling, you don't hustle your partners. And yeah, they don't exactly regulate this. You can't call the cops or anything. But I was because he goes back, and Rosie Perez, he's just really distraught because I think they played for like $2,000. So once again, Billy's out all his money because he didn't see the hustle. And there's Rosie going, oh, I don't know, Billy he was just off, it happens. And she's like, you got hustled. Come with me. And you see who's in charge here. She just drags him over to the apartment, starts talking to his wife. You can see Billy, this is embarrassing as hell for him, but she's sitting there, yelling at Sidney's wife. And then all of a sudden they sit down in the kitchen, and there's Sidney sitting there with the guys from the other team, and so there's not really a chance for him to deny any of this. He's caught red-handed at this point too. But then something happens in a Lakers game, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, and here's the four of them, who are like pulling the hustle on Billy earlier. Now they're all just cheering for the Lakers. But they decide here's a big money game. Big money street tournament or playground tournament, got a sponsor and everything, and they're going to go play in this money tourney. And then it's like she says, hey, she's going to give you some of the money back now, and then you guys are going to go play with each other, make the money back, split it, and everybody will be even. So I'm like, wow, okay, good, good show. So there we are, and we come up, and they're looking at the guys here. They spot the two guys who, are the favorites. They're the best on the playground right now or whatever. And Woody just decides to start shit-talking them nonstop. Now, I'm going to play that. And before we get to that, though, one of the players on that team is Duane Martin. Now, this is a reach, but he's a basketball player, actor playing a basketball player. And he actually played for, I think, City University of New York or something like, smaller college like that. But he appeared, he's one of the guys on this team in White Men Can't Jump. And Above the Rim, he's the star. He stars in Above the Rim, a fantastic basketball movie with Tupac Shakur giving an amazing performance. And he died, I think, shortly after the movie was shot. He was shot. And that was the movie that let you know this guy would have had a serious acting career. That Above the Rim will be on here too. We'll talk more about that then. But yeah, he could have been a hell of an actor. Anyway, Duane Martin, and then if you saw Down Periscope, and if you didn't, I think it's floating around out there either on Amazon or Tubi or something like that. Submarine movie starring Kelsey Grammer, Bruce Dern. And in this one, Duane Martin plays a submarine driver who's a former basketball player who lost a big game in college, and the other driver was a bookie and is pissed because it cost him money. So you have these two at each other's throats. If you haven't seen Down Periscope, very funny, PG-13, nothing too disgusting. And I recommend it highly. Who would have thought Kelsey Grammer as a sub commander would be funny, but yeah, he is. So anyway, yeah, Duane Martin is playing one of the studs there. So let me roll it forward here a little bit, and you will hear, because Woody's trash talk is just out there, and it's really annoying Wesley Snipes. Wesley's like, stop it, quit it for the love of God. So let's enjoy some of Woody talking shit. Release program or something. Motherfucker was just on parole. First, it's the guys that are playing talking shit at the guy at their games. It's like this, Willie.
jump. Yeah, you, potato. You know what I'm talking about. Is that the best game you got? Because if it ain't, you better just grab that free t-shirt and head home. Yeah, what you bring over here? Mighty Mouse? You know something? You're too pretty to play basketball. You know that? You got that big C in your fro, man. Oh, would you stop already? Hey, man, what are you, the Black Zorro? Oh, man, no. Hey, no, seriously. You get your haircut at the Bro Institute? The fuck is Opie Taylor talking about? Opie Taylor? Opie, hey, I got your Opie, you big bad, Roman father, droopy-eyed son of a bitch. You want to come with me? Take your ass back to Mayberry. And tell EB, she better have my beat bars on my kick her ass. What are they? Lurching more t-shirt? What you doing? Hey, I'm doing two things. What you doing? I'm making them mad. Those guys don't play good when they're mad. No, you're embarrassing me. That's what you're doing. Yeah, well, that's the other thing I'm doing. I can't believe this. You know, you're not embarrassing me. You're pissing me off. That's what you're doing. That's good, because unlike those guys, I see you play better when you're mad.
So that's just a great intro. And then he just follows them around at every game, talking shit. Wesley's just trying to climb into a hole, and it's just a fantastic scene. Because really, you know, he's just been playing the white dork the whole time, the chump with the rainbow hat. And now he's turning it on, and it, like, shades of Larry Bird. I wish Larry Bird could have somehow gotten a cameo in here. I think that just would have been hysterical, because, you know, the stories of his trash talking are just legendary. I'll throw one quick one out there. Dominique Wilkins talked about his rookie year, the first time they go to play the Celtics, and Larry Bird, you know, they're getting ready for the jump ball. Larry stands next to Dominique and goes, "Hey, Holmes, I hate to break it to you, but I'm dropping 40 on you tonight." And Dominique Wilkins, you know, in the interview goes, and my first thought was, that son of a bitch just call me Holmes? And so Larry's hitting some threes. Well, Dominique gets one at the, you know, up at the top of the key, and he comes in. Flight school's open. Does lift off. Just slams one in. Bird's trying to guard him, can't. Crashes into Bird. Bird just goes flying, hits the floor on his ass. And Dominique, you know, kind of walks up on him laying there and gives him a look like, you know, how do you like me now? And said all Larry did was look at it and go, "Not bad, Rook, but I'm still dropping 40 on you tonight." And then Dominique goes, "Yeah, well, here's the, you know, the joke was on him. He only scored 39. But yeah, Larry known for his trash talking. So fantastic scene there. And then it sets up, like what we were talking about, Billy's problems. We'll probably speed through the rest of these scenes, because those three things: the Marques Johnson scene, or I guess four things: the opening scene, the Marques Johnson scene, the they screw Billy over scene, and now that tournament. Those are the best ones. I know there's one more at the end, but anyway, Billy, they're heading home, and not even trying to get in Billy's head and take his money. You know, he suggests that, you know, that this is where the white men can't jump comes. Another fun fact, Ron Shelton said he had the title of the movie before he even had the concept of a script. He just knew he wanted to call the movie. He knew it'd be about playground basketball, but he had no script yet, no story. Just knew that White Men Can't Jump was going to be up on the posters. So Billy, it comes up where Sidney doesn't think Billy can dunk, and Billy should know he can't dunk. He's probably tried, and so they go out. He hothead Billy. I'll bet all the money I just won, and you know and I think she needed the money to get into the Jeopardy like contest or whatever, like the one you go to try and get on Jeopardy, at least back then. And so he loses all that money because he can't dunk. He is slamming that thing into the side of the rim, and he has to go back to the hotel. You know, Sidney's it's almost painting. Now when it's time to win the money, he's talking shit because he's like, okay, I'm not going to lose my money just because this guy was dumb enough to take the bet. So he's fucking with Billy. Billy loses. He gets his money. Billy has to go back to their crappy hotel where I think she had like pizza and champagne or something, knowing he'd won, not knowing he'd lost it all on the way home. And she for the first time, she's out. And then, what was it? In between two, you've got the hitmen after him, and you get the feeling they're not really the murdering type, and that it kind of plays out that way. Like if we skip to that, they end up just getting a picture of him dead, like putting ketchup or corn red corn syrup all over him, dyed corn syrup, and just take a picture of him, and say, good luck to you. They're like, we don't need to kill you. We just need them to think you're dead. And don't come back, which kind of goes without saying, or they'll all be dead. So then Billy, though, one of the guys, and you'd seen him, and I think is one of the guys they'd hustled, is also a security guard at the TV lot where Jeopardy's filmed, and I have no idea how security guard getting her through the door can get her on the show, unless he had somebody. I just don't remember. I thought, because he has to win a bet, like he has to shoot like a half court hook shot, which obviously is one of those kind of moves that Billy Hoyle keeps it loaded in the chamber whenever he needs it for a quick buck. So that's how he wins to get her in there. She goes on, kicks ass. There was one thing I found from the trivia that it was kind of fun. Where is it? Not Nike. Remember she had the category food that starts with Q, and there's like a quince was one of them. What they were practicing. Well, 5 years later on Jeopardy in 1997, in honor of White Men Can't Jump, they put foods that start with Q in as a category. I'm sure a few people might have been ready for it the very next year. So yeah, fun stuff. So gets her on Jeopardy, and they're great. It's like he goes, sings for her, he got her on all this, and they're going to be together. He's going to be a better man. Well, I think what had happened was Sidney needs a bigger down payment for a house. So there are these two legends I think they brought up in the movie, and they're going to go challenge them because they only play for some ridiculous amount, several thousand a game or whatever. And this is where I don't know if I didn't. This was one where it's tough for me. Because he's agreed. I'm done hustling the streets. Got to turn over a new leaf, live a real life. But he owes Sidney. I think he really does owe Sidney, because Sidney was the one who had the friend who set it all up to get her on Jeopardy, which got them back together. But Sidney was a bit of an idiot coming out, knowing how she's going to feel about it. Probably. He needed to go, hey, man, can we go talk over here? If he goes, let's go talk over here, everything's probably already fine. She'll never know they played this game. It's not like it's going to be on the evening news. But he does it right in front of her. She, Woody says, sure, I'll help you out. They're becoming friends now. And then she gets this smile on her face, and he's like, it's just this one time. It's to help Sidney. And she gets this smile on his face and gives him this kiss, and it is just, it's the kiss goodbye. And and she's not going to be at this nice hotel room she got after they got back because she's got money now. And man, that's a little painful. I'm like, come on, I get he made this promise. He owed him one. I thought he owed him one. That's how I lean, but I totally get that she's like, here you are within a day even of promising me you won't do it again, you're going to do it again. And so he's never going to change. She's out. Little sad, but he may never change, because then the movie just kind of ends with them, hey, wait a minute, and wanting to get like a $20 game going with somebody. And so, yeah, these two are going to be hustling together. Would he ever find love, or Sidney or Billy? I don't know. But anyway, that's the movie. Real quick, Wesley and Woody, really, really good friends, I guess. So ever since they were in Wildcats, they were really tight. And one of the quotes from Wesley Snipes was like, when meeting him in Wildcats, I knew I'd found a brother for life, and and a guy that I was just going to be friends with forever. And so they ended up doing three other movies together. They did Met on Wildcats. Did White Men, and then they also did Play It to the Bone together, which Ron Shelton also directed, and then they did Money Train. Money Train got crappy reviews, but then I saw it and I'm like, put me down with enjoyed the movie, because they just have that chemistry. I'll sneak into the casting here a little bit too. There was some casting info. One of the guys that they wanted for Billy Hoyle, for for Billy Hoyle. They had Snipes at this point, but they wanted Keanu Reeves, and I guess Keanu Reeves just wasn't very good at basketball. But when they had him, they'd have everybody play against each other for real a lot because he didn't want it to look staged. And I guess Wesley, who wasn't very good basketball player either. Think about Wesley that I had written down somewhere here. He's described as fantastic athlete, horrible shooter. And he even admitted he was just a bricklayer. He could look like he was playing basketball, but it's one of those, I bet you couldn't hit water if you fell out of a fucking boat, And so, but he could take it to Keanu, and so he took it to Keanu because he wanted Woody Harrelson to get the part because that was one of his best friends. So he admitted going at it pretty hard to try and make Keanu look bad. And how is it where that's a good story? You can laugh at like one of the nicest guys in Hollywood getting worked over a little there. He landed on his. I think he landed on his feet. I'm right on that, I guess. So that was our movie. Let's see. Once again, if you're tuning in, I said something at the beginning of the show to jump in the comments. Like, make an effort to jump in the comments tonight. I discovered that I didn't even know it was there before, but that the comments had a button which was the default setting was something like it screens your comments instead of let all comments go. So I don't know if you guys were trying to comment and we're just getting shut out. Like maybe it's taking them and then they're just not showing up, and therefore you think I'm just blowing you off. So I wasn't blowing you off. I flipped that switch. If comments are getting blocked, they should be fine. And if you ever have any concerns, I always do the pre-show article at about 5:30 or 6, 5 to 6, something like that, Central Time, the night of the show, just to put the link in and everything. If there's any issues you think and comments aren't getting through, just make a comment there. But if there's something going wrong, I want to know about it. I would have loved to know that this was an issue because it was just odd that not as many comments and more watchers this year. So anyhow, I said that. I got a lot more people on now. And like I said, if you just want to do me a favor, just try and get in there if nothing else and give it a GBR or a Go Big Red, like David Matney did. Go Big Red, says David. David, good to have you. And apparently Tiger Shark Diver remembers him. He threw a "Hey David" back at him. And there we are. So let's see. What should we talk about now? Let's do. We're rolling through here pretty good tonight. I feel that last week was a little too much fun. We went over a couple hours on that one. What the heck was last week? North Dallas 40. North Dallas 40. Very, very fun show. But I'm gonna try and get it out of here like in under an hour and a half tonight. Oh, brother. But I won't leave anything important out, I swear. All right, so let's check. Let's give the ratings to our categories. One is the comedy. Comedy, fantastic. It was the kickoff, like I said, for Playground Hoops, which means it was the kickoff for real trash talking. And I mean, that first scene, the trash talking is just long and nonstop. Your mother's an astronaut. I could have just played like 20 minutes, but I think that someone might get upset if they were just listening to people shit talk each other for 20 straight minutes. But yeah, your mom is an astronaut. Don't be talking about my mom that way. And the guy just gets furious that Sidney calls his mom an astronaut. I just remember it's like he goes, "Hey, your mom's done. She's out. And they shake hands on it, and Wesley turns around with an evil grin on his face and goes, "What time do you want me to bring the bitch back?" And then he tries to use the "your mom is an astronaut" on Woody, and Woody just comes back, "My mom's too drunk to be an astronaut," and kind of shuts that down. But yeah, the trash talking is just pure comedy. Kadeem Hardison, you look like a fucking geek, to be like, here I am, and I look like a what? Like a fucking geek. And he was on, God, what was the name of that show? It wasn't Hired Learning. It was the show with all of them in school together. I think it was college, like a college years type show. Anyway, we'll give the comedy in this the Devaney. That's a solid 4. It does have some parts where the comedy's not flying, but the comedy that's there is excellent. So that's a 4-star Bob Devaney win for the comedy. The unintentional comedy. All right. I'm going to give this a 2 because Wesley Snipes' basketball playing ain't great. It's not just the fact he can't shoot. He has this dribble, where he's just bouncing it. It's almost bouncing it over his head when he dribbles. And I had a guy in Lincoln, a friend of mine. I won't embarrass him by throwing a name out, but he thought of himself. I don't think he played high school varsity or anything like that, but he still thought of himself as quite the player and the point guard and the guy that likes to shoot out of the corner. And so we had a split game where I was playing against him and he's putting himself at point guard, and I was just like, all right, well, we need to win this game, so I'm guarding him, and I'm just taking the ball away at will because he dribbled so high. It was just I could almost go and just take it with both hands. And what I usually just swat it away, go grab it, a few of those layups, and then his team was like, okay, you're not the point guard anymore. So he's getting furious at me. So then he wants to show off those bombs out of the corner skills, and he was about 2-3 inches shorter than me and couldn't jump at all. So I don't know if he could make them or not, but I just blocked them all. And this is kind of how, like, Wesley Snipes looked. I'm sure they could have made my buddy look good with a slow motion camera and unlimited takes. But Wesley, man, it's just that high dribble, and I'm just looking at it going, steal, steal, steal. And it's just, he's dribbling it up to his neck every time almost. And then the shooting, I can see where he shot bricks because the shooting form just wasn't great. And I was just thinking, and I block a lot of his too. and he's going to miss what I don't block. So, it was kind of funny watching him play basketball. They had to slow-mo him in Major League, too, because, like I said, nobody's doubting this guy's great athlete, balance, all that. Probably would have, fantastic running back, like skill position player in football, but didn't have the basketball skills, and in Major League didn't have the baseball skills. Like they said, he looked kind of ridiculous when he ran too. They said they had to put that in slow motion, and then it looked great, but you never saw him run. You never saw him run once in that movie full speed on camera, and that was why. And the other thing you never saw him do in that movie was throw a baseball, because I guess it was just he looked like some of those girls that they bring out to throw out the first pitch at games, like gymnasts and stuff, and the ball, they throw it into the dirt 10 feet in front of him or throw it sky high. And apparently that was him. So they were like, well, we're not even going to try and slow-mo this. So he'll never make a play in the outfield except a catch. So now that we're done slamming Wesley Snipes, but I just wanted to point out that that's your unintentional comedy there. Next, your sports quality. Now you got Woody who played some college basketball, I guess, and they said, when it came to Woody versus Wesley, it was just no contest. Woody was just lights out better. It could shoot. You could tell this is a guy that grew up playing some ball, and you could see that too in semi-pro. He's very comfortable with the basketball in his hands. And then you have Marques Johnson, and you have the other guys that look, that they look like they've all played some basketball. So the only chink in the armor is Wesley. So I'm gonna go with Devaney with a 4. The basketball games looked those looked fun, and there were a lot of little sneaky moves like passing off the backboard for dunks and stuff like that. They're like, oh, wait a minute, that would, hell yeah. And so I'll give that the 4 as well. And then we have the music. Okay, right there. That's a 5-star Coach Osborne winner right there. Because you've got some rap and a lot of like rhythm blues stuff going on throughout the movie. Brother, here's a list of some of the performers on the soundtrack. You have Cypress Hill, the OJs, Jody Watley, Duke Ellington, George Clinton, James Brown, Isaac Hayes, Jimi Hendrix. Because remember, Billy, I feel Jimmy. Yeah, Woody felt Jimmy, damn it. Jimi Hendrix, Ray Charles, and Aretha Franklin. And Aretha Franklin actually sang a song that Ron Shelton and somebody else wrote just for the movie. So Ron Shelton, man, that might have been one of the biggest highs of making White Men Can't Jump is Aretha Franklin sang a song I wrote. Holy shit! Yeah, we're gonna do it again. Osborne, 5 stars, 5 stars on the soundtrack, and yeah, unbelievable. And anyway, so let's see. That was an easy one. Adrenaline scenes. I'm only gonna go, and I'm only gonna go about a 2 on adrenaline scenes. You know, I could probably nudge it up to Bo, but it doesn't really feel. It's not that championship they're going for. It's, you know, it's a pile of cash. Like the last one, it was probably the most meaningless game in that it's not a tournament. Yeah, it's for big money, but it's almost like it's just out there by itself. It doesn't have, at least I don't remember it that way. And I admit I skipped over that when I was going back through the movie because it just didn't leave that strong an impression with me. But I don't remember just the crowd of people. Like, even if it wasn't the money tournament earlier in the movie, you still had just all the girlfriends and buddies and the stands packed, you know, watching these games, and they had that energy. But there was never like a adrenaline. Like, this isn't, you know, like a few weeks ago when we did Long Gone. This isn't Stud Cantrell up with the bases loaded in a tie game against a pitcher that he's 3 for 60 or 3 for 68 lifetime against, trying to figure out how to score. So yeah, let's just call it a 2.5, a Solini. We'll call it a Solini. Oh God, I just made that up. You're getting this stuff for free, folks. I'm such a dick. All right, then we have the rewatchability. I'm gonna see now. It's not as rewatch. A lot of this stuff I go 5, 5, 5. It's not quite as rewatchable as others, but that I'll still give that one like a solid 3. That 3's not bad. Like, you know, when I'm like, here's your 9. It's the rewatchable equivalent of a guy that wins 9 to 10 games for 7 years. You know, hey, I'd like a national championship rewatchable, but it sure as hell beats a Riley Frost Callahan watchable. So yeah, it's Bo, and that's not an insult. Don't want to delete Bo. All right, so then the last one is the Oscar reboot. It's just not an Oscar. There's not. I can find Oscar stuff in a lot of sports movies. I definitely did. I thought Nolte was right there in North Dallas 40 and shunned because it was a body sports movie, but he was fantastic. Everyone's good. There's some good scenes, and like I said, we have 2 Oscar nominees in here, in Rosie Perez and Woody Harrelson. I don't think they're doing God's Oscar work here, though. So we're just gonna no Oscar reboot this time. So let's see. All right, I'm wondering if I fixed comments because the comments are still kind of quiet, and it's like I don't want to sound like I'm begging for them. I'm just worried something's still wrong because they flew last year. So anyway, you don't worry about that. Let me worry about that. I'll keep fighting to see what's going on here. So anyway, we've got the trivia. This one had some good trivia around it, as you might imagine. Let's see. Like I said, this is a good one. Woody played some college ball. Now, Shelton or whoever the producers bring in, 18-year NBA All-Star center Bob Lanier to be their basketball coach or whatever, and try to teach him a little more basketball. And at some point, Woody, and Bob Lanier is like 6'10" or 11. I imagine he's at this point way older than Woody, because I think his career ended like early 80s. So he's got to be in his, I'm guessing he's 50 or so, and Woody's still pretty young. So Woody, I don't know whose idea it was. I don't know if Woody talked shit, but apparently they decided to play a little game of one-on-one, and Woody Harrelson said it was the most embarrassing 15 minutes of my life. Well, I don't know how many of you have heard of, this is what it made me think of. Have you heard of Brian Scalabrine? He is a tall, goofy redhead that had, probably an 8-9 year NBA backup career. It has the bright ginger hair, and he likes to go to the playgrounds where shit talkers think they're going to beat a former NBA player, and he takes them up on it, and he destroys them. I mean, he's beaten. I don't know if he'd still take on. He has a bit of a boiler on him, so I don't know if he'd be taking on. But he used to take on like some McDonald's All-American high school players and just thump them. The guy played, in the NBA for 9 freaking years, and he had one of the best lines ever, because here was some old fat guy who was just like a king of his court or whatever, and said he'd whip Brian Scalabrine, so Scal showed up. It was like, but he wanted to play like no rules. Well, Scal was like, 8 inches taller and bigger and stronger, and let alone faster, even though no one was breaking land speed records, and just destroyed the guy. But I think this is the guy he said to. It's like, here's the thing. The guy had said something about LeBron. You ain't no LeBron. He goes, well, here's the thing, buddy. I'm closer to LeBron than you are to me, which was just an absolute shit. Just shivved him verbally right there on the court. That is just one of my favorite things. I'm closer to LeBron than you are to me. And let's see, and then I don't know if this is Lanier. They said this was one where I read, and I don't necessarily believe it. I think he was just trying to be nice to everybody. But one of their basketball instructors said that Woody and Wesley could both make a D3 basketball team. And I'm like, Woody, yes. Wesley, man, I love you, Wesley. Wesley, if you're watching this small corn nation sports movie show, I know I'm just firing strays all just left and right by you. I apologize. You're a fantastic athlete, just not a good basketball player. It happens. It's like, if I wandered in there and tried to take Bob Lanier, let's put it this way, Woody's probably way better than me. So anyway, but he said that they both could make a D3 team. I think he was just being nice to Wesley Snipes there. Now there's an extra Ron Beals. He appeared in one of the scenes as a player, and I think they said he was wearing like purple sweat shorts or something like that, and had like a gray beard. And then he appeared later in the movie as one of the fans watching. I'm guessing they're the big money game. But he attending Loyola in 1959 and 60. What did I say his name was? Ron Beals apparently is credited as the pioneer of the jump shot, and it just said Loyola, so I'm like, I'm going to go with Chicago. I guess, I'll assume that they hadn't made their way to Marymount, that it hadn't made its way to Marymount in 59 or 60. Woody was a much better player than Wesley. Woody Harrelson in the movie, and this is one where it's like, a little creepy. Not creepy like gross stalkery, just you'll hear. So Woody makes a reference to Lee Harvey Oswald, who allegedly killed JFK in the movie. He makes a Lee Harvey Oswald reference at one point. Woody Harrelson's dad apparently was a top suspect as potentially one of Lee Harvey Oswald's accomplices, if he had any. And it's like, good for Woody. I mean, I could see, hey, we got a Lee Harvey Oswald JFK line for you. And Woody's like, we're not comfortable with that. Can we go with another political conspiracy? So interesting connection there. Here's something out of left field. Apparently, White Men Can't Jump is one of Stanley Kubrick's favorite films of all time. Who'd have thought it? That wouldn't surprise me. Let's see. Ron Shelton had the title without a script. I said that about Woody and Wesley. Okay, here's one, and why you never really saw, because you would think, movie made that much money might spawn a sequel. Well, the producing company was 20th Century Fox. Ron Shelton sued 20th Century, felt like they owed him more money than they gave him. He sued 20th Century Fox for breach of contract and won the $10 million he asked for. How about that? That's kind of nuts. Pit Snipe Husker is in the house. There you go. Woody's dad whacked JFK. He did the research. But he goes, I didn't remember that Kubrick was alive that long. Well, remember Kubrick did Eyes Wide Shut with Kidman and Cruise. And I don't think, he's been gone a while, but not that long. I guess, when was Eyes Wide Shut? Late 90s, early 2000s, later than that? But at least he was alive that long. So he was alive well past White Men Can't Jump. But yeah, that's a little on the wild side. Let's see. But anyway, since when he won the $10 million from 20th Century Fox, might have been mutual, never worked for him again. They never They never produced anything he did again. He never had anything produced by them. But unfortunately, that meant, and maybe fortunately, because these can be very bad, but therefore no sequel, no TV show. I get, they made a different one, but I'm sure somebody just sold the rights to somebody else at that point. Let's see, we talked about Marques Johnson. Oh, here's a fun one. So when Ron was hanging out, he was hanging out at a lot of these street courts or whatever, just watching them ball. He wanted to get a feel for it, a feel for riding it, the whole 9 yards. And he comes by, I can't remember, where did they say where he was? I didn't write down where he was. But anyway, he goes there and the whole place is locked up. And somebody else he knew was walking by. And he goes, "Hey, why is the place locked up? You didn't hear?" And he goes, "No, what happened?" He goes, "Oh, the game ended. Dude just broke out a pistol. Raymond shot. Raymond gonna shoot everybody's ass." And apparently, shot a couple people. And Shelton asked him, "Jesus hell, what was the issue?" And the guy went, "Blocker charge." Yep, Raymond didn't like being called for the charge. Headed for the car. Get the gun. Shoot everybody's ass. So in real life, on the set, I guess Wesley started giving Woody shit he couldn't dunk, and Woody took him up on it. It's like, the hell with you, I can dunk. And so they were just planning for it, and they had wherever they were shooting it. Here's your basket and everything. Well, Woody hustled Wesley. Had got the crew in on it, and every time Woody went into the trailer, that somebody would just lower the rim about an inch or two, until they got it down to about 9 feet 3 inches, and then when it was Woody's time to dunk, bam! and when Wesley found out, I guess he thought that was pretty damn funny. It sounded like yeah, they got me. And the hoop was at when most of their games, the hoop was at 9.5 feet. And having had a hoop when we moved to Nebraska, the house we lived in when we moved there had the hoop, drilled into the side of, or the front of the house over the garage, and it was 9 feet 8 or 9 or something like that, but just low enough that I could dunk on it at will. At the full 10 feet, it's like I could windmill tennis balls, volleyballs, you got it, but didn't have the hands for grabbing the basketball like the baseball. I had to do that tuck, right where you just got to tuck it between here. So I got to get up about here, and I could get up to about there. I got a couple of them down, but it was not a regular thing. It definitely wasn't dunk at will. It was, hey, it happened a couple of times. I must have been a little jacked up, but you've never dunked with a regulation hoop that's just a little short. For those of you that can't dunk regularly, time of your life, kid. Time of your life. Nike actually came out with a funky shoe at one point, after the movie came out, that was basically for based on it was their Sidney, Deane, Billy Hoyle shoe, and they did a shoe in honor of those two guys. I feel like I'm going to be checking. eBay or something tonight to see, okay, what would a nice fresh pair of those be worth today? And they said, and for Stat Geeks, here's your final piece of trivia. They said in the movie that in the movie itself, they did the shooting stats for everybody, every game, everybody said 65 shots were taken on screen and 55 of them were made, which probably sounds about right. At a movie's not going to want you putting up the 27% Caitlin Clark threes out there, bang, clang, cut. So yeah, they're just gonna they're gonna make sure it's just gonna be nothing but makes that get on the screen. So there we are. We are all done with White Men Can't Jump. I thought I had more. I might have raced through it a little. I don't know why. Let's talk a little Huskers. Let's do that. I meant to do that at the beginning, and I just saw that note I made for myself that I missed. So first practice was Monday. They let us get in there, watch those guys and take pictures or video or whatever for about 20 minutes or so. And you understand when you go out there, you're not seeing anything they don't want everybody to see, because they assume hey, there's going to be pictures, video, there were going to be they don't want any drills showing that everybody else in the world is doing. But it's fun. It got you a little excited. Got me a little excited, I guess I should say, to get out there, see him in the shorts and the pads and the helmet, seeing Dylan throwing some spinners. The linemen are going at it. They were banging at each other. Some man, there's some cussing next to offensive line. Hate to break the bust up the cloud for you if you think these are all like Christian young men that never say a bad word. But yeah, I walked by once and somebody got like dinged up on the arm a little, and it was just letting fly. I just couldn't help but crack up. I will tell you this, Teddy Prohaska, he's one of those that's back full go, ready to go. They've got ungodly depth at left tackle because Freddie's back full go, Turner Corcoran's back full go, and Gunnar Gotchula's back full go, and all three of them had been hurt going into the off season. They're all fine now, and that'll be a battle for some playing time there. That's Gunnar went in and got some experience last year because both Teddy and Turner went down, and all of a sudden, what was he, redshirt freshman last year? You got and hell of his own, I think was the overall opinion. So it's good to see those guys going. They did interviews after practice, and one of them was with a guy I think some people might have forgot about, and it sounds like he's ready to remind him. 4-star recruit to LSU, transferred here last year, and then got hurt. Mac Markway, and Luke Lindemeyer is, he said he's pretty much the de facto leader of the tight end room, and he said when I saw Mac and Carter Nelson both healthy and ready to go, he goes, I knew Nebraska's about to turn into tight end U again. So between those of you that watched last week know I did it in Vegas and in my room at Mandalay Bay, and that didn't really get me too excited. It's tough to think football's around the corner when you're walking half a mile by slot machines every day. It just Vegas doesn't feel like, hey, college football season's here. Watching a practice does. And so it was kind of fun to hear Max say that. Emmett Johnson was in there saying, he still feels Matt Rule said, quote, he's the clear number one, at running back, but both Johnson and Rule seem pretty thrilled by the depth at running back behind them with like Mackay Nelson, if I'm saying his name right. I've really got to spend more time because the University of Nebraska does take the time to have little ear emojis you can click to listen to the proper way to pronounce people's names, which I end up guessing badly sometimes. But Jamiron Parker, I guess, is working through an injury, true freshman coming in. But you have Nelson, who they just think the world. Let's put it this way: Quentin Ives and Nelson, and then Connor Booth has been impressing, another true freshman. He might be. I can't remember if he was one of the ones dinged a little bit too. But they think they're deep as hell, which is maybe a reason because some people are like, why aren't they going for another running back in the portal when you lose Dowdell? I think they think they've got their guys. That their guys are already in the house. That's the impression that I get. Trying to think what else did they talk about? Because Emmett Johnson came out, Lindemeyer came out, and Lindemeyer's a delight, by the way. He just has. You can just tell he wouldn't rather be doing anything else in the world right now. He's just grinning ear to ear. He walks in and everybody's staring at him. Probably giving him a minute to get settled in, and then he's like, "Okay, I've never done this before. I don't know what to do." It's like, do I make an opening statement? Tell you what, how about I just take some questions? And he's just smiling. And the line I remembered, other than the tight end U line, was somebody asked him, hey, you started out as strictly maybe a blocking tight end, and now it's like, can you explain now the work you've done to get to where you're now fully a part of the passing game and all that? And his response was, well, I got my game, and EA Sports still thinks I'm only blocking tight end. And that got it pretty. He got some laughs. He seems like a really engaging, good kid. So anyway, yeah. And then the guy that I struck, and if you looked at the articles, I popped a couple yesterday. One I'm not going to get into here. Read it, and then you can go comment on it because right now the answer is no, but I did an article because Matt Rule brought up Scott Frost. It kind of, sucks for him that he can't really comfortably return home after, being fired, and then, kind of lit his own fire again by talking at Big 12 media days. And I just kind of wrote an article going, are the two sides ever going to back down enough to where he can comfortably come home again? And the fact that he spoke out at Big 12 media days, to me, that kind of said, I'm not ready to back down yet. Now, it came off, and it came off to me this way too, so I'm not just, believe me, I'm not, even by bringing this up, it's like, you're a Scott Frost lover. And I'm like, well, I don't hate him, but I sure as hell admit what looks like, some kind of brutal missteps at times. And just bringing it, instead of just brushing that question off and looking forward, I mean, some people still would have been insulted by that. They weren't going to take anything other than like a crying apology, and I love Nebraska out of him. And I pointed out, starting with, I think, them pulling his brother's scholarship offer when, his older brother, who ends up at Stanford, and then Scott goes to Stanford. That's the thing I don't think a lot of people knew unless they watched like Day by Day, was that, he didn't just like flee the state for the West Coast, with no connections whatsoever. His brother was going there. And, well, fun thing, his brother actually ended up as the PA announcer. They called him the voice, like starting in 1999. From then on, he was the voice of Stanford, the voice of Stanford football. Well, anyway, just from that, how he caught shit for not committing to Nebraska, caught shit for coming back, goes after they've won back-to-back titles, they go 11-2 or whatever it was, caught shit for only going 11-2, and then got booed with, like, they had Frankie Osborne put Frankie London in against, like, I think it was Culpeper in Central Florida. I can't remember if that was too early for Culpeper or not. Anyway, puts him in against Central Florida. Frankie leads him to a touchdown, and now they're up 14-10. Puts Frost back in, which was the plan. Frost gets booed as he comes back in, and then, like, people blamed him for not trying to stop Lawrence Phillips, which is stopping Lawrence Phillips is a whole nother discussion. But this is a guy who, even before the coaching stuff, has a rocky relationship with Nebraska's fans. It is an up and down thing. And, like, remember that the last thing we basically hear of him, except for snippets from Oregon and then Central Florida, is him begging the voters to give Tom Osborne at least half the title. He deserves it. He's the greatest coach, and he's retiring. And so, he goes out probably on, on a good note in everybody's minds. And then people are starting to want him back. And I guess, to make a long story short, I just kind of said, well, Frost, a couple times said things. Didn't exactly show for some contrition for anything. Does he have to? I don't know. So he's making his own kind of, his mouth's getting him in some trouble. But I kind of pointed out, and the fans are just kind of going right by that, like he still owes, they're still 100%, he owes us something before we stop talking shit. But the shit talked about him was way worse than anything he even remotely said or did to Nebraska. And I just kind of pointed that out. I'm like, they're talking about this guy. Is some of it true? I don't know. Personally, I think probably. But so much of it was from the friend of a friend of a friend who saw him, who somebody told him they saw this in a bar, and this kind of thing. And I never really heard, there's a couple instances where I did hear, okay, this happened, and I'm not going to go into that. But, I mean, it was getting to, and there's hookers and cocaine and him just drinking in front of crowds at bars, and a combination of all three, getting drunk with the hookers and snorting cocaine, and and it was just, hey, this is way worse than what he's saying about us, or pissing you off by not saying. And that was just kind of my thing, is there's a lot for both sides that both sides would have to back down. I kind of thought, like I said, him saying what he did at Big 12 days is going, I'm not taking all the blame here. And it comes off as I'm not taking any of the blame. And we'll see what happens at Central. And, and then saying things like, I never should have left Central Florida. So my thing is, can Nebraska fans ever back off it enough to go, hey, he quarterbacked a national championship team, big part of some big wins in 96 and 97. I mean, he still had a starting record of something like 20 23-2 or something like that, 24-2. Not even at the '90s standards. I think that met the standards of success. And yeah, but can he ever back down? Can Nebraska fans ever back down? I don't know that anybody's getting a sorry from anybody, but can everybody just go, can we move on and appreciate him? That was kind of where I was going. The stuff I'm getting from fans, if you go to just my Andy Ketterson on Facebook, I posted the article there, and right now, these are all, friends of mine, people I know, and so far it seems to be a resounding no from their side. And I guess that Scott Frost isn't exactly feeling like he owes anybody anything. So this isn't. I knew going in that the world's not going to throw their arms up for me, or more importantly, because Matt Rule is trying to extend the olive branch. And I was like, no, this is very fresh again right now, and I think if it happens, the earliest I'd go would be like 5-6 years down the road. So who knows? If he just truly stays at Central Florida, never goes for like a P5 job again because he truly loves Orlando, then maybe he was telling the truth. And people, and if he's successful, he'll have to be successful to be there 5-6 years down the road. And some people are going, man, if the guy that said that at the Big 12 media days, if that's how he thinks of responsibility jumping into another coaching job, Central Florida might be in a little bit of trouble here. But we'll see. That all has to play out. So let me. I'm sure we got a comment or two there. Oh, on the practices, salty practices are often mentioned by Peters, Wistrom, Frost, and others. It's good to hear. Frost had my favorite in Day by Day too, because he was on that a bunch. Just as the player, and his coaching wasn't brought up. And he said, man, he goes, you couldn't get away with that anymore. He goes, those practices were like Sparta. It's like they were just fights. Going at it, when he 95 running the scout team, he's going up against the Peter brothers, Wistrom, that crowd, who the Peters were like, we're trying to run him out of Lincoln here, and then they admitted that he, took all the punches, threw some back, and impressed them with his toughness. Both like Christian Peter definitely thought he came in to the Jim Rome show in 97, or 95, right after that season. And here was Christian Peters swearing to God we had a quarterback that was going to win us more titles. Hey, he got one. So anyway, yeah, this is what I'm getting. Frosty could quit being a dick. Then we can talk about how welcome he is. Yeah. And no, I'm 100% on that, but I'm also 100% that maybe we can stop telling everybody he's on cocaine. Like I said, no, I don't think anybody's apologizing to anybody, but yeah, him being a dick is half of it. Some fans being a dick, but the thing is, he quiets down, the fans quiet down, and if he never says anything bad for a few years, and then just maybe says something a little nice, which will he? Is it? Because like I said, it's much deeper rooted with him, I think, than the fans. Even when he was pissing people off by not coming here, that sort of thing. People were like, it wasn't up in arms like this. Now I feel like he's more hated than Lawrence Phillips or Incognito. But yeah, we'll just like I said, I wrote that article not expecting any. Oh, you're right. I never thought of it that way. It's still, I think. So we'll see. I won't say fun, but it's something I'm going to try and pay attention to as the years go by here. So yeah, this is probably a great one to finish on. Pitt Snipe, yeah, he's a dick, but he's our dick. Yeah, read the article, tell me what you think. I finished it off by saying that starting a couple of years ago when Trev was here, and it's still going strong, it's more about transfers, I think, when they came up, and then it really kind of showed its colors with Ali Battenhorst. But the thing was, once a Husker, always a Husker is kind of the motto. We're not talking about what jerks these guys are that transfer to Nebraska. So why do we get mad because somebody from Nebraska wants to go somewhere else? They're just like, yeah, enjoy them for the time here. Generally, nobody's ever talking shit, on the transfers anyway. Yeah, Frosting fans, a little different. But yeah, I really like, Allie coming in here with Southern Cal last year and crying because she got an ovation. I think of Dante Dowdell, transfers out. I think a lot of that was knowing that Emmett was going to be the number one, and he's a kid trying to make the league, so he wants to go someplace where he probably feels he can play more. And I don't have a problem with that. That, I get that everybody wants players to never leave their teams, and it's got to be all about the university, but it's a money game now, and they deserve that money, and they deserve to think about their futures. And I truly believe, hey, do your best at what you're doing, and if you're good enough, it'll show out. But I can get wanting to go somewhere where maybe you're going to get more exposure. So that's my thought on that. But that's the whole thing behind once a Husker, always a Husker. But I said it's like with Frost and the fans, man. This could be the toughest test of once a Husker, always a Husker since they popped that saying out there. We'll like I said, this isn't. There's nothing changing quickly on this. We'll see how it ages, and I think that's a good place to leave it for the evening. It's night. What's that? Let's see. I ain't butthurt when we ain't got a slot on the roster for one of our own. I ain't. Yeah, I'm not either. It's a different deal. And then I especially get a little worked up when people like, hey, here's this. Hey, you got that quarterback going to Alabama, and I'm like, yeah, at some places, you can still find room for the local guys, but now that you can't at least walk on it off or preferred walk on everybody. Well, you can get pretty close. I guess we're still at 120 for this year, while they fiddle with the roster sizes. Quarterback's the place where, man, you don't want your local boy. You don't want to waste a Scully on a local boy if you've clearly got the guy you think's better. And yeah, oh God, you got the kid from Millard South going to Alabama, but that's the one where we've got Dayton. I think that's the slot we've got Dayton Rayola in. It's like, he's been trending up. It's as he's getting older, he's getting bigger. The arm's getting stronger, and it's from the sound of things, and we'll find out how he does his senior year. Down in Buford. I drove by Buford a couple weeks ago when I was landed at the Atlanta airport, but that's not sounding like such a horrible pick. And nothing against the kid from Millard South. My thought when I heard he got a Scully to Alabama was, man, good for you. Good for you. We've just got to not think of it in terms of anytime someone signs with anybody else, that Nebraska has somehow screwed up. Because I'll tell you this, one of the reasons we got our choice of all these guys before was no one was coming here really to recruit very hard. Nebraska was just considered sort of kind of a wasteland of college football, and the guys that were making it were ones that walked on and developed, and these schools felt, well, we'd rather go with somebody who's better right now than go take a walk-on Nebraska kid. There was usually just, 2 or 3. Now there's more than that. I think they said that, Millard South has like 12 D1 offers on there. Nebraska is recruited now. I want to say going back about 8, 9, maybe even 10 years, things ramped up for high school football in Nebraska. So, and they're just getting hit by everybody. It's not Nebraska or bust anymore. You've got Alabama, you got Miami coming here. K-State's kind of always been here. Iowa State, Iowa, but they're coming from other parts of the country. Stanford, has been here. They're coming for our guys, and you're just not going to get everybody. Tiger, no kidding. The 5-star safety from Central, that would be a nice keep. we would love to keep him. I mean, look at basketball. We're also we're recruited hard for basketball, and we lose way more than we keep. And let's face it, the football program, speaking of the recent past, isn't much different than the basketball program, man. We went 10 years without a bowl game. And so hanging on to these guys with the rest of the country coming in, it's going to happen. So, yeah, TSD, yeah, Snipe knows, man. That's a guy you'd like to keep. Like I talked to one dad whose son played here and then went to did the thing where they moved to another state to try and up his profile, and it is. And he sounded like he's not so sure about Matt Rule. So tried to do my own little recruiting there, keep them in the fold or keep us in the discussion there, and we'll see. But it is what it is. All right. Thanks very much for being here tonight. The football show won't start this won't flip over to the football show until the Tuesday before the Cincinnati game, like the 23rd or something like that. So I believe we'll have three more shows, or is it 4? 3 or 4, something like that. But I'll be, heading down to practices and stuff like that and the press conferences. So I will let you know. Oh, the final thing. I actually wrote about him too. You can find that on the Corn Nation website. But like one of the, after watching the linemen indoors a little bit, you just step right outdoors onto their grass practice fields. Matt Rule wasn't kidding. I guess those things were just like chopped to shit before they, redid the whole complex. And he's not lying. It looks like I was like, is this artificial turf too? And he goes, nah, man, these things look like Augusta. He says they're just beautiful, and he wasn't lying. But I walk outside, and the first thing I do is see a punter to my left and a ball going way up in the sky, probably traveling 60, 65 yards, and that's our freshman Aussie, Archie Wilson. He's about 6'2", 215. I didn't bring him up, but somebody brought him up to Matt Rule, and Matt Rule looked like a kid with the kid with his hand in the cookie jar, with Archie, because he can do more than just punt. Go read the article. I won't take you all through it. We will leave this time, and I will tell you this. There were rumors earlier. I can say both from Rule confirming it and seeing it firsthand, Archie can boom it with both feet. He's booting 50-yard plus with both feet. So when he rugby punts, he can go either side and let fly with the right foot. Go right foot it, go left foot it. And there's a little more he can do in there. Check the article. I think I just called it Archie Wilson is going to be fun. And enjoy. Go Big Red. Had a lot of fun with White Men Can't Jump. That brought back some memories. Scrapping that together. And I'll try and throw in a little football is what I was going to say before or after the movie talk, just so keep everybody updated. And other than that, have a fantastic rest of your week, a great weekend. Moneyball, if you want to watch it before we go, Moneyball next week. I'm putting it out here because I'm going to try and get Aaron Rostovsky, who I've been trying to get all year. Loves his football, loves his baseball. The big guy is a lot of fun to have around. Knows his shit inside out. So I am publicly trying to get Aaron next week. So yeah. Take care, everybody. I'll keep checking on comments, and go Big Red, and we will see you all next Tuesday. Bye. Love you guys.